I am really excited to have these gentlemen up here with me, and I'm going to go ahead and have them introduce themselves. James, we can start with you because they represent 4 affiliates that I want to hear some more from.
Sure. Thank you, Karina. So my name is James Halverson, and I serve as the Executive Director of the South Dakota Stock Growers Association. Our office is just a few blocks from here.
My name is Kerry Doctor, and currently I'm president of IBAN, the Independent Beef Association of North Dakota.
Thank you, Karina. It's good to be here today. I'm Freddie Keaton, currently the president of the Independent Cattlemen of Missouri.
So it's good to be here. I'm Joshua Knope. I am a board member with the Oklahoma Independent Stock Growers Association in Oklahoma.
Excellent. So representation from South Dakota, North Dakota, Missouri, and Oklahoma, a good cross-section. One of the things that as I've gotten to witness is watching our affiliates become really active in the political front on their state level. And so tell us about the process of what each of your individual groups does to become active and represent your members at the state level. James?
You want me to start?
All right, go for it.
You can pick on me. Just full disclaimer, I'm the JV. I wasn't supposed to be up here. Scott Edoff is our president, and he got sick today, so I'm filling in. But I guess to start off, I would say, you know, the South Dakota Stock Growers has a pretty big advantage because we've got a 130-year history. So that goes a long ways, and there's no substitute for that. But, you know, I think a lot of that just begins with developing relationships. And that takes time. It takes effort. It takes phone calls, and it's not always meeting with people and phone calls with an agenda. Sometimes it's just reaching out to say hi and to develop those relationships. And I would say starting at, you know, in your district, in your hometown, whether it's your city council or your county commissioners or your state legislators that are close to you, they're going to be the ones that are easiest to get to. And I think that's, you know, probably the first key step that I would advise people to do.
Excellent. Carrie?
Well, in our state of North Dakota, I think with the checkoff petition drive that you spearheaded, Karina, really sparked some interest in our producers of North Dakota. And our last legislative session, we had a young legislator that was approached by a producer with discomfort or disgust with our checkoff program. And so this legislator proposed a bill to make that second dollar that North Dakota incorporated back in 2015 to make it voluntary rather than mandatory. And so this legislator come to IBAN and asked for some advice and guidance because he really didn't know how the checkoff program worked. And so IBAN got involved and kind of gave him some advice and got involved with the legislative process, and we're with the Capitol in North Dakota during the legislative session. And so the day when this bill was heard in committee, we had people come out of the woodwork to voice their opinions. We had some were IBAN members that I had not known. Some were just producers that wanted to get involved and show their support for it. And of course, I should probably back up and give a little bit of history of our beef commission in North Dakota. They're appointed positions by the governor. And of course, the governor goes a lot by the recommendation. He's got a selection committee, and that committee, in my opinion, doesn't do a very good job. They more or less go by what our acting director of the Beef Commission will recommend, or of the North Dakota Stockman Association will recommend. So, in other words, just to kind of voice my opinion, is it's a very heavily weighted Beef Commission board in support of NCBA. And so I think that is where a lot of the of a lot of the producers that come out to support us at the legislative session came from. And so back in 2015, I'll back up a little bit further, when it was proposed to the legislature to add the second dollar on our checkoff, we again got involved. Not that we were against the checkoff, but we wanted to be put forth to the vote of the producers and let them decide instead of the legislature. And of course, our legislators, probably like a lot of legislators in other states, very few of them have any interest in livestock anymore. And so we lost that fight. And so since 2015 on, the amount of money, of checkoff money that has been sent off to NCBA has more than doubled in our state. And so when this legislator come up with the bill this past legislative session to make that second dollar voluntary, we got involved and we said, well, you know, if producers think it's a good deal, they can pay into it. If they don't like the program, they don't have to. Well, back in 2015, when we lost the original vote on that, the legislators told us, if you don't like the program, your vote is to ask for a refund on it, which, you know, not a lot of producers do, but probably about, I think they say about 10 to 12% ask for the refund. Well, I think since the petition drive on the checkoff and all these things have come to light, I think a lot more producers are realizing that, hey, it's our dollar. We need to try to control where it's going. And so anyway, it kind of, it was very enlightening to see the people come forth and support us on this bill at the last legislative session. And then also tying it together with the petition drive, we had a lot of people come forth that say they want to get involved. A lot of them called you, Karina. In fact, we have one fella here today at our convention. I've talked to him several times on the phone, but never met him before until at the convention here. But I think that's why we're making progress. We're getting people involved. People are starting to realize that, hey, it's our money.
Yeah, so IBAND, you guys really created that education component for your producers and your legislature, and then that led to some action. So, yeah, that's a very good point. Freddie, I know that Missouri is really wet behind the ears, just launched this new affiliate. What are your guys' intentions of getting active within your state level?
I mean, I wish I could get up here and give you a big success story, you know, but we are new. We're learning. We've got a lot to learn. We've got an uphill fight in Missouri. The Missouri Cattlemen's Association is very good at what they do, and they're very heavily invested in our state capital, and they've got a lot of connections and a lot of influence. Our plan is to be able to gather some membership, and we hope to be in Jeff City this fall. And like James had mentioned about building some relationships, I think we're probably gonna have to start there instead of going to them and, you know, beating down their door, telling them we need this fixed. We're gonna have to form some relationships with some politicians and get some credibility and hopefully move forward.
Your history is just beginning, and what a great place to be at the beginning of it, because you'll be one of those guys that can stand there in, 20, 50 years and say, I remember when we started. So Joshua, tell us about Oklahoma and the activity that your organization serves on that political front.
So one of our biggest things is we've focused on educating our producers, educating our fellow producers on the effects of the GRSB. That's why we started the organization, was realizing that the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association was adopting policy that brought the GRSB right into our state, and was going to bring in policies that would ruin our cattlemen in the state of Oklahoma. So we've focused a lot on educating producers. And by doing that, we've been bringing Bill Bullard down and having meetings. And through that, up until last year, we had a full-time guy at the Capitol lobbying for us. And then last year, thanks to having Bill down for a meeting, we had several state legislators there, several senators and several representatives, and it opened their eyes. And so now we have a representative in the Capitol that is a strong supporter of the Oklahoma Independent Stock Growers Association and everything that we're doing through RCAF and OISA. But we definitely encourage all of our members to go to the Capitol, call their representatives, and do more of a grassroots, develop those relationships with their individual rep and try to move legislation that way.
So empowering your producers, James.
I just would add to what I was saying earlier about contacting those people, especially our state legislators. If you wait till during the session, they have, you try to put yourself in their shoes, right? I mean, they have hundreds of bills coming at them, and many of them, do not have a background in our industry. They hear some headlines, they see, a powerful organization spouting off this or that, and they just don't have that deep-seated connection to what we do for a living, and we can't make the assumption that they do, and it's so easy to do that. And so it's important to talk to those people during the interim when they're maybe a little less busy and a little more, have some more free time. They want to hear from their constituents. I've yet to meet a legislator that doesn't want to talk to their constituents. So I'd encourage you to not necessarily just wait till the day in the committee or the day those bills are up to start bombarding them with calls. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's definitely a strategy. But if you can develop those relationships and plant some seeds earlier and try to educate and explain our position on things in the interim, I think that goes a long, long ways.
Absolutely. So having a little bit of the foresight, what you're saying during that off legislature season, to meet with those state reps, have them come to your meetings, have them come to a sale barn and talk to a bunch of cattle producers or to the county fairs in your district. And that leads me into another activity that I am really impressed with that South Dakota Stock Growers does that I want to hear more from James. And that's this legislative mixer that I've asked him to invite me to so I can see it with my own eyes.
Okay, what do you want to know?
Yeah, so tell him about why do you guys go to Pierre as a board, as a group of cattle producers, and meet with these legislators in your controlled environment?
Sure. Again, part of that is we have a long history and legislators know who we are. But it's one of the big events that we do every year, and we put a lot of time and treasure into that. So every year, early in the session, usually about the second week of the session here in South Dakota, we have what we call our legislative day, where we'll have our board meeting, our quarterly board meeting, and then I'll schedule several speakers throughout the afternoon, from the administration, whether, a couple years ago we had Governor Nome there, which was great. We get the lieutenant governor, we get any of her cabinet officials, and try to get a half a dozen of those throughout the day to come and speak to our group. And that's open to everybody, open to our entire membership or affiliates or whoever. And that's a really good afternoon. And then that transitions into a social and a mixer that evening where we invite all of the legislators. There's 105 of them in South Dakota. They have invitations to do that stuff, several of those events every night. The same crusty hotel meatballs at every different event. And so one of the things that we've tried to do to step that up, and it's cost us more money, but we've started to try to showcase South Dakota beef. So we found a venue that serves local meat, and we put that out there as, hey, we're going to have a tongue to tail, we called it the first year, showcase of local meat. And I think that really helped some of the legislators that probably maybe already had the preconceived notions of what we were about, want to at least come and just socialize with us. And I think that's where a lot of, real good grassroots legislation is started. And so we put a lot of effort into making it a fun event that showcases local meat that they can talk about. We found a venue that wanted to do it, found a chef that was really excited about it. And, it's a great event that those legislators, even when I talk to them in the interim, they're excited about that event. And so we also have a lot of board members show up. I mean, we'll have probably, and just regular, members that aren't necessarily board members or leaders of our organization show up because they know that they can get them one-on-one conversations. And whenever you get, an elected official, the opportunity to speak to a bunch of potential voters, they want to do that. And so if we can provide that forum in a nice setting, showcasing some local meat, there's not very many excuses to not show up to that.
So just like the phone works two ways, the highway runs both ways too. And so, in the off season, bring those legislators to you. And when it's in session, you may need to take that effort to get to your state capitol and hold an event to bring everybody together. Do any of the other groups do anything like that, a meeting with their legislators? IBAND, are you inviting your state reps to your meetings?
We haven't been, and that's a great idea. Normally, we're involved with what they call a legislative mix or whatever, where we participate with other organizations and then put on an evening meal or whatever for the legislators all to come in, but we don't have the one-on-one with them like I think we should, though.
Okay. And in Oklahoma, you guys have been having some legislators come to meetings?
Yeah, so every time that we have a meeting, whether it be our convention or a regional meeting with Bill coming in or anybody speaking, we always make sure that we invite as many legislators as possible. And we hope to at least have one or two to actually show up.
Excellent. So staying on the topic of policy and policy reform, how does your work at the state level support the industry reforms that that RCAF is working for on the national level? South Dakota, you did something historical this year.
We did?
Yes. Don't you remember? I took sound bites of your awesome hearing testimony.
Everything we do is historical. What are you
Okay,
talking about?
130-year history, yes,
No.
everything is historical.
No. So, yeah, we've had some good wins, and the best example, we've had a couple of years ago, nationally there probably wasn't there wasn't the votes to get MCOOL passed, and we realized that, and so we thought, well, let's think strategically here and try to attack that from a different point of view. And so what we did was we worked with some of the legislators that we knew pretty well and were MCOOL advocates. And so we decided to try to go a different route and say, let's craft a resolution that says that we want to attack the tariffs, the retaliatory tariffs that are really what's blocking a lot of the senators from wanting to pass mandatory COOL. And so we did that resolution, and a lot of legislators don't put a whole lot of stake into the resolutions because they don't really codify law. They don't really accomplish a lot, some will say. But I do think that is, the genesis of momentum for an issue. And so I think it's a little bit easier sometimes to get some of them legislators on record for a resolution because it's not holding their feet to the fire as much. And so we did that with MCOOL, and then this past session, which passed our legislature nearly unanimously, but I think one guy was absent that day. So yeah, that was...
So not history.
No,
I'm just
but
kidding.
then this past year, we did a similar resolution for 5014. And again, it's one of them things that can be a divisive issue, and if there's a law coming out for that, there's going to be people on all sides of it. We're going to get some big pushback from NCBA and others. But if we have a resolution that was passed by both state houses in favor of that, that's a pretty good thing to fall back on. And so we passed that. We crafted that legislation, got it passed. This time, I believe it was unanimous in both houses in South Dakota. And then that moves on to our DC delegation to basically say, hey, here's what the state believes. And so we didn't get a ton of pushback on that, probably not near as much as I expected, and had overwhelming support. And then we're able to go to Senator Rounds and Senator Thune and say, the state house just passed this unanimously. And so then we start to see, again, that momentum just carries forward, and they have a little bit more motivation at the national level to then introduce bills and try to get that attached to some moving legislation on the federal level.
Yeah, that was really monumental. And as I sat in Nebraska and was able to watch that happen, I couldn't have been more proud of the way stock growers, worked together, used strategy, didn't compromise, and held the line for your own members. And how much the rest of RCAF, we did. All of the nation was kind of watching South Dakota. Like, are they going to get this done? And they did. And so, James, if any other affiliates or groups want to see that resolution language or need that, I'm sure you'd share that with them.
Absolutely. It was kind of fun. We had the prime sponsor of the bill. They always get the original copy. And so she sent that to us, which I thought was pretty neat. And then, it's all online on the South Dakota LRC, the South Dakota Legislative Research Council, their website. You can go back to all the past sessions, or just get a hold of me, and I'd be happy to get that out to whoever.
We would love to duplicate. I would love to see that effort duplicated in other states, because those resolutions pretty much gave direct form to South Dakota's national delegation. This is what the people of South Dakota are speaking. Right,
and if we could get the exact same resolution passed in 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 states, what a statement that would take to DC. And so you don't have to necessarily be able to call your senator. You can call your state representatives and get those resolutions passed, and that sends a pretty strong message to those guys.
Excellent, excellent. And when we talked about state level issues, then supporting our national level issues in North Dakota, this checkoff issue completely fits that scenario, and we were kind of in balance as they were working hard to try to get a bill passed so that they could make their second dollar on their checkoff voluntary, and we were working on the national checkoff petition. Carrie, you've only said good things about the momentum that each of the state and national efforts working side by side in your state created. Synergy may be the word.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, it really brought people out of the woodwork that, everybody's got them in their communities that don't want to get involved. And with the effort of the petition, and then at the state level, when it come out, as far as the bill that was presented to make that second dollar voluntary, a lot of those people decided, well, it's time to step forward and get involved in it, and it was great. Just to kind of add to what South Dakota has done, boy, I feel bad because we're behind the ball there, and we really need to probably pick it up and do the same thing. One of our senators is co-sponsor of the Grassley Testa bill of 5014, and I think as a state level, if we could get our state legislators and stuff to adopt a bill and support that, I think that would definitely help kind of push them forward to get the ball rolling a little bit. And so I think, we really need to work on that too.
Yeah, so, and Freddie, one of the things that as I watched Missouri build their new affiliate, a common theme that kept coming out of you board of directors, as I would talk to you privately and I would say, what's inspiring you to make this happen, was in Missouri, you guys are pretty passionate about mandatory country of origin labeling, and you felt like on the state level, you had no representation for that issue in your side. So what would be your plans to get active on that state level and enhance MCOOL efforts in the state of Missouri?
ICOM is very passionate about MCOOL. That's one of our key issues. Like I said before, Missouri Cattlemen's is really good at what they do, and they are against MCOOL, and so they have spun everything opposite of MCOOL to all of the state legislators, and so they only know what they're told.
Exactly.
So I think the key is we've got to start building those relationships and informing those guys of our side of the story and why we need MCOOL.
That's right, because for every opinion, there's a counter opinion. And it was time that Missouri had a group that represented the counter opinion to that non-MCOOL voice. And then Joshua, in Oklahoma, we know that Oklahoma has echoed our efforts in educating about the GRSB and some of those things. So talk about what work you're doing in Oklahoma that runs right alongside our national efforts at RCAF.
So we've ran several things. We ran tried to run a truth and labeling bill, basically trying to run an MCOOL for Oklahoma. By the time that was all done, we ended up with a Oklahoma marketing bill that would allow a producer to put a made in Oklahoma label on their beef. So it ended up getting watered down quite a bit from where we started anyway. We've also ran, and I got to sit in on the rulemaking process for a bill that would allow us to have state inspected meat sold across state lines, sold to grocery stores, sold to restaurants, and it kind of ran hand in hand with that Oklahoma labeling bill. But we're trying to get it to where we can kind of create that on a state level, and then everybody else can grab it and duplicate it across to other states, and effectively from the state level up.
Excellent.
Is what we're trying.
So let's switch gears from policy and talk a little bit about producer engagement. How important is it that your groups get out among producers in your state at the county fairs, the sale barns, the farm shows? Talk about your efforts in getting into the space of producers.
Okay, so that's one that I'm kind of passionate about. This last year, we did something a little different. We hit up every farm show that we could. So we started out with started out with Woodward, their little farm show, and then moved on to Oklahoma City, and just hit every farm show that we possibly could. And part of the drive for that was the petition for the checkoff. That kind of helped get us there. And then just being in front of people, we realized really quickly how many people agreed with a lot of things that we're fighting for, whether it be 5014 or MCOOL, whatever it may be. That we realized real fast that these producers really agree with us, and just being able to stand there and visit with them and talk to them, educate them a little bit, it's been an amazing thing. So I think it's a very important thing that we get out at every possible event that we can, whether it be your county fair, whether it be a livestock auction, just going and sitting and just visit with every one of them that comes in. Of course, most of our guys are order buyers, so you'll see the same 5 guys at 100 different livestock auctions in the state. But it's very important to get out there and talk to our fellow producers and get them involved.
Joshua, every time you would call me this spring saying, Karina, we ran out of our calf materials again at this farm show. Oklahoma we kept having to call the printer to print more membership brochures and to print more materials because this Oklahoma group just went on a farm tour of Oklahoma. It was a farm show tour. So, excellent.
So
go
on
ahead.
that, the Brett Kinsey, I believe, was who I heard came up with the idea for the long-range plan. Excellent idea. That was the best piece of information we could hand out to anybody and everybody, and everyone took 1 or 2 or 3, and I really feel like I hope it grew some RCAF memberships in the state of Oklahoma.
And if your group is doing an event or needs long-range plans, membership brochures, any materials, just give the RCAF office a call or me, and we'll get those in the mail to you because we absolutely do want to serve all of you going back home with those materials. Freddie, talk about what your plans are in Missouri, getting out with some producers.
We had intentions of making it to the state fair, but we didn't have all of our ducks in a row fast enough, so we missed that one. There is a big event It's Ozark Fall Farm Fest in Springfield. It's a huge trade show. Lots of cattle producers attend that. I have got us booth space reserved there. It's the first weekend of October. So I'm hoping we're going to go down there and really make some headway and contact a lot of people and just get a lot of information out there. And hopefully it produces some membership.
Excellent. North Dakota.
We don't have a lot of shows or farm shows and stuff in our state, but just give a little side note on the petition drive. We had an IBAN member that did a terrific job and hit up a lot of the sales and stuff. And so he, one day he was sitting at the area livestock auction, and he was just about going down row by row of getting people to sign. And I mean, he was batting 1,000. Everybody would say, "Yeah, give me that. Let me sign that." Well, anyway, he runs into an order buyer who was the father to a daughter that works at our North Dakota Beef Commission. And he definitely run into a roadblock there because right away he thought negative of it. And so then, our IBAN member tried to explain to him, it's just to bring it to a vote. You can still vote your opinion however you want, but he wouldn't sign it. But other than that, it was great.
What if we took that same enthusiasm that we all had for collecting signatures on the checkoff petition and always had a few RCAF membership brochures in the console of the pickup, or, taking them to the sale barn and those kind of things? Just imagine how maybe we could explode some things. So that was a good one, Carrie. Okay, James.
Well, we do a few things. First off, I'll put in a shameless plug for the first one. We're raffling. We have a silencer shoot, right? And so we're selling raffle tickets for that right out there. But we bought that last winter, brought it to the Black Hill Stock Show right here, and then throughout the summer, we tried to get our board members to take that shoot to all of their county fairs or hometown rodeos or whatever events. And so we actually make money off of that raffle, hopefully anyways. And it also gives them guys a good excuse to get out to those events and for people to just come talk to them. And anything you can do there to break the ice and just start talking about things. You don't have to agree on every issue, but let's just start talking about things. I think that's huge. So that is one of the things that I think is really, it's a great thing, plus we can make money at it. You don't always have to be spending money to gain memberships. The other thing that we do that I think has been really successful, and I do a poor job of it, and I wish we did more. But again, we're lucky we have board members. We have the state split up into different districts, so we have board members all over the state, and we try to encourage them to have local area meetings. And those are a wonderful thing. Again, we've partnered with people. I'll give a shout out to the people over here at Dakota Gold, some Vitalik, some of the other sponsors in here. They love to get to those local meetings, and they will even provide a speaker. A lot of them will sponsor the supper. You can go to a local bar or tavern and probably get there for free because they say, hey, we're going to bring 25 guys in tonight, and they're all going to be drinking beer, and we're going to have somebody else come in. And it can be just a couple of wives, bringing in some sloppy joes. You don't have to spend a lot of money. But if you have somebody there local, and I count on our local board members, they know the people. They can set up some flyers somewhere and just go talk to their friends and neighbors and say, hey, free meal this night. If you come in there, heck, I'll probably even buy you a beer. You can listen to the speaker from Dakota Gold, and we're going to give you a little plug on South Dakota Stock Growers. Those, again, have been very successful for us. And it's also usually a way where if we don't make money, we break even. So it's a great event where we can get ourselves out there, get some more memberships, probably even make money on the event. And that's way more effective than having bigger and state level events, because if you get that local connection and that guy there that's a trusted friend and neighbor, that really goes a long ways towards getting guys to join the organization.
Well, last night we had a strategy session and training with all of our RCAF affiliates and talked about membership building and communication and some of those things. And James, I think I just should have had you do the training. But yes, we encouraged our affiliates to get around to these sponsors that are here today and tomorrow and build relationships with these businesses because they want to support independent cattle producers. My next question is for Freddie. Let's talk about starting this new affiliate in Missouri. You guys really aren't giving yourself enough credit for what you've just done. It's tough. You're all cattle producers. You're not nonprofit extraordinaires, lobbyists by any means. And so I just really cannot tell you how deeply in awe I am of what you guys have done. So tell us, why did you start ICOM? Because I have a feeling the seed was planted a year ago at our CAF convention.
Yeah, that's where the seed was planted. I mean, as you can tell, I'm not a gifted speaker or very eloquent, so yes, this stuff is not easy for me. I wanted to start this affiliate because I felt that Missouri needs representation.
Excellent.
We need somebody to share our perspective, not NCBA's perspective. We need a voice, and not just for myself, but for my neighbors, everybody in my state. It's a state full of small producers, so, I mean, there's lots of them, you know, and I know most of them work a 9-to-5 job, and cattle's not their direct source of income, but it's still something that they have a right to do, and they have a right to be profitable at it, and it's a way of life that they choose, and they should be able to choose that. I wanted to start this group so that maybe we could preserve that. It's a lot of work, it takes a lot of time, and it's a big learning curve, but I feel that the people of Missouri need it.
We have a number of states. Yeah, that's right. I mean, Mavericks. It's been a bumpy road, and it's been a learning curve even for me. I didn't know how to set up a nonprofit, and so we've learned together, me and Missouri. And so Mavericks, we're ready to do this again. Freddie, what would you tell these other states that don't have an affiliate, that don't have an organized voice to represent the independent cattle producers? What would you tell them about this, you know, encouraging them to dive off into the deep end?
Well, I don't want to be discouraging, so don't take me wrong. But lower your expectations. I think we went into this thing thinking we was just going to go off like gangbusters, you know, and set the world on fire. That's not the case. I think we set ourselves up for some failure there. Another one, I'm going to have to take some lessons from James on, you know, collecting revenue and getting some donations, because you either need a donor or you need to be willing to open your wallet, because it's going to take some money. Everything you do costs money. Setting up a nonprofit, having insurance, it's endless. We all know, we all run businesses, we know what it's about. So you need to have a money pot. Looking back, we probably should have maybe tried to seek out some kind of a donor to help get us started, because that's probably one of our biggest hurdles, is being financially able to do anything. And right now we're struggling with that.
But would you agree with me, it's not easy, but it is possible?
Oh, like I said, I didn't want to be discouraging. It's possible. I'm a realist, and anybody out here that's wanting to start one, do it. It's rewarding, even though it's taxing, but it needs to be done.
And I took really good notes along the way, so we won't fumble along quite as much as we did with Missouri.
And hats off to you, Karina, Brett, Eric Nelson, Dave Hyde. All of those people helped contribute, because I've never even been part of an organization until last year. I never was a member of any cattlemen's group. So I don't have any idea what it takes, what you need. But these guys all have resources and information that they can share with you and help you. It's a good relationship, and you got to have that relationship to do it.
Excellent, thank you. For the other three groups, we have a number of cattle industry groups, you know, on the state, regional, or county level, cattlemen's groups. What would you tell them that the advantages are of becoming an RCAF affiliate? Joshua?
I'd say the support that comes from Billings is a huge thing. So whether that be just calling up and asking for Bill to come and give a presentation, Shad to come and give a property rights presentation, information to come that we can hand out at our meetings. Everything that you guys support us and our mission is huge, because I don't know. I think South Dakota, you guys have staff. We don't. It's 100% just us volunteering our time and for free, and so we don't have time to gather that information, put it together, send it to a printer, and get it out. And so that is huge. Just having that resource there, and having the knowledge that you guys have to help us if we have an issue, whether getting our newsletter out or something of that nature. You guys are, and that's huge for our organization.
And we always encourage more feedback, so let us know. Carrie?
Oh, definitely, I'd have to agree with that. Just having access to you, Karina, Bill, Brett, Eric, you know, we got somebody that we can go to if we got questions, and what we can do at the state level to help on the national level is huge. And just to stay informed and up to date on things is very important.
Okay. James?
And I would just add that many hands make light work. So wherever you can get more members, more team members, more advice, more opinions, that's always a good thing. And so, you know, we're lucky because we have such a long and storied history and a lot of people, but it's still wonderful to be able to branch out, meet people from other states, and be able to get perspective of what's going on. Because like Freddie said, raising cattle is a lot different in Missouri, and so the issues are a little bit different. But yet, if we can bring that collective wisdom together at events such as this, then we all grow and come out better on the other side. So I think, like I said, it's just the more collaboration we can do, the better off we all are.
Excellent. I end a lot of my Hot Barn reports with, we are all better working together. So on that note, I want to thank these gentlemen for being transparent and giving us their time, and let's give them a round of applause.